And are we there? Are we speaking? Let's make ourselves big. There we go. There we go. I think we're working now. Yeah, we are working now. Great. All right. It's the beginning of our little live. It's late. I know. You're probably doing other things, whatever. But I did find some pretty good information that I kind of want to talk about here. I think you're going to be a little bit shocked by some of this. Okay. I talked earlier about this, finding out that this Ashley Buzzard's mother, which her name was Lori Miranda Hernandez, had also, when Ashley was 9 years old, they had also been in hiding and missing. Now, this is why I'm saying, is this a repeat or what? Because this is the same behavior. Is this trauma-based? Is this a psychotic episode? What's happening here, right? With Melody and Ashley Buzzard. And I think this might be one of those situations where you might have a psychotic break because she is reliving a trauma that happened to her when she was 9 years old. So I'm going to go back, and I finally found it. I went ahead and uploaded it on a Word, put it in Word so I could keep it because I was like, what if I can't find it again? So anyway, let me go pull this up right quick and we'll talk about this. Okay, Melanie Buzzard, here we go. Now, let me tell you what it says over here. All right. According to the Santa Maria Times, hang on, y'all. There's an article from 1995 when Ashley was 9 years old. Melody's age now. She and her mother were homeless and hiding from her physically, verbally, and mentally abusive father. They spent their nights switching hotels and visiting family. Lori said that there is a lot more going on than media is portraying, and that her daughter's bipolar diagnosis causes her to make up stories. Ann Emerson from the Criminally Obsessed podcast said that she sees parallels of crisis escape and hiding between the mother and the daughter. See, that's what I'm thinking. We know from this article that she has said she was under an enormous amount of stress as a 9-year-old. Emerson says, and now we know that 9-year-old Melody, her daughter, is missing. There are parallels that cannot be coincidences. There are no coincidences in true crime or in crime, period. Think about that. Emerson added that she shared this newspaper article with the FBI, who were unaware of it. She hopes that they investigate it further and continues to examine the case in her, and herself. So here you go. That's why I'm saying, is this trauma-based from the incident that happened to her when she was a child? I'm going to say I think it is. When you think about, let me get my little thing over here. When you think about psychotic breaks and what they are and how it happens, classic cases right here. So there's custody battles going on. There's a bunch of different things going on in Melody's life, in Ashley's life, that, the public probably was not aware of, right? And I know their private life is their private life, and I understand all that. But anyway, so let's talk about psychotic breaks, okay? Because if you remember right, old Letitia Stout's trying to pull that shit, right? Yeah, it was a psychotic break. I didn't know what I was doing. Right. Well, when you do that, here you go. When you have a true psychotic break, you're not over there trying to hide what you've done, right? Right, because you don't know what you've done. That's why it's called a psychotic break. So a psychotic break, also known as a psychotic episode, is a period of severe mental illness that's characterized by a loss of touch with reality during a psychotic break. So it could be as simple as she doesn't even know where she left her daughter. I mean, in the middle of this, she could have been somewhere and not even know where she left her daughter. I don't know. I'm not going to accuse her of anything. Here's the funny thing. She's not even a suspect in the missing of her daughter being missing. How come? Does that make any sense at all? No, it doesn't. So let me show you some more. Some of these things that they experience during these psychotic breaks are hallucinations, seeing, hearing, smelling, and tasting other things that are not real. Oh, here, you know what? I forgot to check on the sound thing over here. I know sometimes the damn music just goes crazy. If you don't remember to turn it down, it's going to be loud. And yep, there it is. Let me turn this way down. All right, there we go. And we'll put a little bit of music on under here. How about, here we go. Some little background music. Sometimes it helps. How about a little daydreaming? How about a little bit of that? Make sure it can not be too loud. All right. Now. Okay. So So they are, so in there, and when they're in the middle of these breaks, they don't really know what's going on here. They do have, smelling, tasting, or feeling things that are not real. Okay, and that's very possible. This could be happening to her. Delusions, false beliefs that there are not based on reality. That could be happening as well. Disorganized thinking, difficulty organizing thoughts and expressing them coherently. Changes in behavior, bizarre, erratic behavior such as withdrawing from social interactions, neglecting their hygiene, or engaging in dangerous activities. Right? Causes. Now, here's the causes of why a person would have a psychotic break. Let me go back over here. Hang on, guys. Thank you for coming in and listening. I sure do appreciate it. Causes. The exact causes of psychotic breaks are not fully understood, but they may be related to genetics, a family history, or a mental illness, such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. We know that Ashley is bipolar. Her mother the grandmother of Melanie has explained that her daughter is very bipolar, has a lot of mental illness, and she needs help. All right. Brain chemistry, abnormalities in the level of certain neurotransmitters in the brain. Trauma, we talked about this. Trauma experiences of traumatic events such as abuse, neglect, or war. Substance abuse, using drugs or alcohol that can trigger psychotic symptoms. Medical conditions, certain medical conditions such as a brain tumor or infection can cause psychotic symptoms, right? Now, the symptoms of the psychotic break are the hallucinations, the delusions, the disorganized, the changes in behavior, and emotional disturbances. Now, emotional disturbances would be like fear, anxiety, and depression. The changes in behavior will be the withdrawal and the paranoia, right? And delusions, believing that others are spying on them and that they have special powers. Wow, that almost sounds like Lori Vallow, right? I'm sorry, guys. That's not funny. We're talking about something serious, but some of these things you're going, wow, man, it really does. Okay, here's the treatment for it, though. A psychotic break is a serious condition that requires immediate medical attention. Treatment typically includes medications such as antipsychotic medications can help to reduce the hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. Therapy. Psychotherapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy can help individuals cope with their symptoms and improve their coping skills. Support. Support's a big one. Support is very important for these people. Family and friends can provide support and encouragement during these psychotic breaks. And hospitalization, which is a big one. A lot of these people end up having to spend a long time in a hospital, which is sad, but true. Make sure make sure this is playing okay, because I don't really hear it right there. Hang on a second, guys. Let me see. I hope it's playing. I mean, I can see my mouth moving, but what I don't hear is myself talking in my earbuds. So hang on. Oh, it shows that we are. Okay. All right, then. I guess maybe it is. I don't know. I don't like this earbud. I've never liked this earbud. Yeah, today was hell. Had to go to, yesterday now. Yeah, it's on, I think. It's on. All right. Had to go to Best Buy. I had no sound. Had to go to Best Buy. Had to get it fixed. I was like, oh, Lord, just what I needed. Anyway. Okay. So, do we think that Ashley Buzzard is in the middle of a psychotic break? Absolutely, she could be. We're not going to know until they find her, but absolutely could be. Is it from the trauma from her own childhood at 9 years old? Absolutely could be. Her daughter just turned 9 years old. She's thinking, oh my God. See, some of the things that happened is the lady talked about whenever she was hiding with her daughter, and they were sleeping in homeless places. I mean, they were homeless and all these different things, that there was just a lot going on that people didn't realize, and all these other things that she talked about. So let me go see if I can pull this back up over here and make sure we didn't miss part of it, because I thought there was another part where she talked about, hang on, guys. Okay, let's see. Where she actually talked about what she experienced as a child herself when they were running and hiding from other people, which I thought it's very sad, Let me see if I can find that over here again. I found it on I heard something about it, and so then I went out to, let me get my co-pilot. There we go. Let's see. She talked about it on, what was it? Let's see. It was Ashley. Okay. Let's see. Well, it's MA. Let me see if I can get that to pull back up. No. Okay, I don't think it's going to pull back up. Anyway, so that's what's going on with Ashley Buzzard. I hope they found her soon. I hope she can remember where she left her child. That's so damn important. And that might be why she's nowhere to be found right now. They went to many different states. They stopped at many different states, remember? So there's also, this is kind of a different story because, sometimes people think, well, is a psychotic break a nervous breakdown? No, it is not. They're two different things. Could that be what's happening? We don't know. But the difference between a psychotic break and a nervous breakdown is, very different. The reality distortion is one of them. And a psychotic break involves a loss of touch with reality. A nervous breakdown, it does not. Okay, that's important to know. Hallucinations and delusions. Psychotic breaks are characterized by hallucinations and delusions, while nervous breakdowns typically do not. Severity. Psychotic breaks are generally more severe and require immediate medical attention. Nervous breakdowns can also be severe, but they are typically less intense and may resolve with time and support. Okay. Causes. Psychotic breaks can be caused by underlying mental health conditions, schizophrenia, bipolar, substance abuse, or traumatic experiences. Nervous breakdowns can be triggered by stress, anxiety, and other psychological factors. It's important to note that both psychotic breaks and nervous breakdowns can be serious mental health conditions that require professional help. If you or someone you know is experiencing symptoms of either condition, it's essential to seek medical attention promptly. I agree with that. I just wish I could figure out where this child is because, she's been seen all over the place. A lot of people have talked about, I saw her here. I saw her there. I saw her, what her mother was actually charged with was kidnapping somebody else, which I know that's hard to believe, but she was holding somebody against their will, which is basically kidnapping. Okay. Maybe one other thing about her, if I can find it really quick. But there's some other things I want to talk about too. Now, there's something different. There's something called a mental breakdown, which is not a nervous breakdown, and it's also not a psychotic break. Okay, so mental breakdowns versus a nervous breakdown, two different things. While often used interchangeably, a mental breakdown and a nervous breakdown are distinct terms with different meanings and implications. So, in a mental breakdown, hang on a second, guys. All right. In the mental breakdown, it's a broader term encompassing a severe and prolonged state of mental distress. It is characterized by significant impairment in daily functioning, emotional dysregulation, and changes in cognitive abilities. It can involve symptoms such as intense anxiety and depression, hallucinations and delusions, paranoia and suspicion, and difficulty concentrating or making decisions, and withdrawal from social activities, okay? Nervous breakdowns we just talked about. So they're very different, and they're also very different than the psychotic break. I mean, there's a lot of mental health conditions that people experience that seem the same, but they're really not the same. So there's actually four classes. This is interesting. There's 4 classes of mental breakdown. So we'll talk about those for a second. So Class 4 mental breakdown, also known as the psychotic breakdown. Okay, so the Class 4 is the psychotic breakdown. So we know what that is. We just went over what happens there. What is the number 3? Let's try to figure that out. Let's see. I want to find that out. Let's see what is Class 3 breakdown. Here we go. Always information is kind of interesting to figure out. I mean, my leg is hang on a second here. Let's pull this back up. All right. So the Class 3 mental breakdown is likely a misunderstanding or misphrasing. The user may be asking about that 3rd stage of mental health crisis or a legal classification, which is Section 3 of the Mental Health Act. Interesting, huh? So stage 3 can involve loss of control and inability to function, while section 3 is specific legal pathway for detaining a patient in a hospital for treatment if they have a mental disorder and require detention for their health, safety, or the protection of others. So let's see what the class 2 is. Here we go. Class 2 mental health breakdown is, that's funny, there tells us there's 4 classes, but according to there's no recognized medical term for class 2 mental breakdown. So they're saying that phrase really is probably a temporary state of being overwhelmed or more severe and prolonged breakdown. It's not the nervous breakdown, but it's somewhere in between, I guess, because it says understanding the differences of a nervous breakdown is a non-medical term that refers to a state of overwhelming stress and anxiety. It is not a diagnosis, but a description. Okay, tells you to go seek professional help and recognize what the symptoms are and consider your underlying condition. It can be linked to other conditions such as depression and anxiety. A lot of people suffer from depression, and right now there's a lot going on. Times are really hard for people. The U.S. is in a state of disarray. I mean, people are losing benefits. People are losing jobs. I'm not going to get off on that because politics are just something I don't think we should be talking about. It's about what is considered a class 1. Here we go. Okay. Class 1 seems to be, what are you doing, machine? Don't do that. It's saying is, it's not a standard medical term, but it's like the early stage of a mental health condition where a person begins to experience symptoms while still maintaining their ability to function at home, work, or school. Symptoms can include overwhelming anxiety, trouble concentrating, mood changes, social withdrawal, and a general feeling that something is just not right. There are warning signs that can lead to more severe episodes if left unaddressed. I get that, all right? Now, early stages would be high anxieties and worry, just that overwhelming anxiety or that persistent worry that just goes beyond your everyday stress, like somebody who says who's having financial problems, but they can fix it. They just need a little bit of time, right? I think that would be like an overwhelming amount of anxiety. Trouble concentrating, and we're not talking about ADHD, that kind of thing. We're talking about just all of a sudden you have trouble concentrating. So difficulty focusing or thinking clearly. And then there's the withdrawal, which is skipping your social events and hobbies that you previously enjoyed. The mood changes, feelings of sadness, hopelessness, irritability, and frustration. Physical symptoms can include fatigue, headaches, stomach aches, or trouble sleeping. And then there's that general feeling of being off, a general sense that things are not right, even if daily functions are still mostly maintained. So what do you do if someone you know is experiencing these symptoms? Well, you need to consult a professional, manage your stress, incorporate some stress-reducing activities like meditation, deep breathing, or yoga in your routine. What I find is very stress-relieving for me is I get on that treadmill, I do about an hour, and that just removes all of that. After I've done that, I'm tired, I'm ready to go do something else, and I'm not thinking about all these other things that constantly run through my mind. That's how I manage mine. You can improve your lifestyle by getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and engaging in physical activity. Okay, seek therapy, talk therapy. Psychotherapy can help you process your feelings and develop coping strategies, and it does work. Prioritize self-care. I think this is the most important one of all of them. You have to take care of yourself first before you can help or take care of somebody else. Focus on getting enough rest and taking care of your basic needs, as it is difficult to cope when you're exhausted. And that's true. That's so true. So that's why I'm asking, is this a repeat? Is she simply having a psychotic break in a bipolar episode? And sadly, Melody is in the middle of this. And I hope they find her soon. Now, there's something else I'm going to talk about over here. And I don't know if you saw Justin's live today, then you probably saw this. It's horrific. It's horrible. I noticed that everybody had a really hard time listening. Everybody, I had to stop and go do something else because it just made me cry. Okay, I just started crying. I was like, oh no. And this is about our little monkey, Michael Vaughan. And so I realized they haven't put it out publicly, but somehow they've gotten a hold of this charging affidavit for this Wander dude. So I found something that I found it was pretty interesting. I did not know it was there, and it actually goes over here a lot of the timelines for these kind of things. Let me go pull up my Word document over here that it's on. And I made a little document today about a timeline and all this other kind of thing from this information that I found. Okay, so let me bring it over here so I can pull it up. Oh, not there. Hang on, quit. All right, Monkey Michael Vaughan. We're also going to talk about Daniel Martell, but that'll be in just a minute. Okay, so let me get this over here. Now, I have a timeline of Monkey Michael Vaughan. And this was spring 21, which is prior to his disappearance. This is April through May of 2021. Now, witness's name was Kim Elko. She attended a yard sale where she saw at this Wanderer residence. She sees this pink big flower tricycle resting on a stack of boxes in their garage. Eco later describes the garage layout, and investigators confirmed the same boxes were still in place during their search warrant. Imagine that. Now, the tricycle is later linked directly to Michael's disappearance. This is Tuesday, July the 27th of 2021, the day he disappeared. 3:23 p.m. Surveillance footage captures Stacy Wanderer driving a white Lexus into the splash pad parking area off of Southwest 8th Street in Fruitland. He exits the vehicle, walks around to the passenger side, and tests the door handle on another vehicle or the structure, on a vehicle or the structure. Okay, so he's testing his door handle. Let me tell you what I think here. I think he's testing that door handle to see, does the child safety lock work? Because once you nab the child and you put him in the back of the car, if your child's safety locks don't work, they can get out. Think about that. At 3:24 p.m., Stacy re-enters the Lexus, returns to the driver's seat, and leaves the area via Southwest 8th Street 1 minute after arriving. At 5 p.m., Sarah Wanderer later claims that she and Stacy slept until noon and left home around 5 p.m. to tow a vehicle to Kuna, Idaho. Both deny being home around 6:30 p.m. Through surveillance and phone data later proves otherwise. They were at home. She was lying. 5:08 p.m. Surveillance and cell phone data place Sarah Wanderer, Aiden Lucine, and Brandon Shirtlift in Sarah's blue. Okay, I don't think I'm saying their name right, but okay. So surveillance and cell phone data places Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon in Sarah's blue Toyota Corolla traveling within Fruitland. At 5:12 p.m., the Toyota Corolla leaves the neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, this is just within minutes of each other. They know everything, all right? At 5:56 p.m., the same Corolla returns to the area. At 6:08, an adult male, later identified as Brandon, appears walking near Three Rivers Way on a surveillance video. 6:15 to 6:30 p.m. Now, this is the day of his disappearance. Multiple neighbors see 5-year-old Monkey near his home on Southwest 9th Street and South Arizona Avenue. He knocks on doors asking to play with other children. And that's very simple. A lot of children do. I mean, when my children were small, they would go next door and want to play with the kids next door. It's very normal. His neighbors instruct him to return home. These are the last confirmed civilian interactions before his disappearance, okay, before he disappears. At 6:18 p.m., the same male, shirtless, is captured again on surveillance walking near the splash pad area. At 6:25 p.m., here's a witness. Dorothy Starkey drives westbound on Southwest 8th Street into the neighborhood. She later reports seeing Michael riding a big wheel tricycle near Red Wing Street and Meadowlark Avenue. This becomes the final confirmed sighting of little Michael that is known. Okay. At 6:28, surveillance records last image of Shirtlift walking west through the wooded terrain toward the Wanderer residence. Shurtleff later tells detectives he was searching for a missing child. The child was not reported missing yet. See how that works together? Right there. It tells you. 6:30 p.m. Tyler Vaughn last sees his son Michael at their home on Southwest 9th Street. 6:45 to 6:50 p.m. Tyler Vaughn realizes Michael is missing. He begins searching his home, his yard, and immediate neighborhood. At 7:08 p.m., surveillance footage shows Sarah Wanderer driving a maroon GMC pickup. She's leaving the area. Stacy Wanderer is the front passenger. Brandon is seated in the rear driver's side seat. All three phones are co-located, indicating travel toward Kuna, Idaho. Remember, they said they were going to Kuna, Idaho, but they were not in Kuna, Idaho when they said they were. At 7:21, Tyler Vaughn calls 911 to report Michael missing. Okay, so he tells them he's looking for a missing child, and the child has not even been reported missing yet. That is just horrific. I'm so sorry, Brandy and family. I wish I would have never had to live through this. But with this information, they will be able to go ahead and find justice for this baby and this family. Okay. So then, at 7:25, Dorothy Starkey is seen leaving the neighborhood eastbound on 8th Street. At 7:26, Adrian takes a selfie in the guest bathroom at the Wanderer residence. He was not in the vehicle with them. Okay. His phone provides no GPS data for that period. At 7:30 p.m., law enforcement, fire, and EMS agencies, along with local residents, begin ground search and aerial search with drones and a helicopter. Idaho Mountain S&R arrives shortly after with their canine unit. According to BN, canines track Michael's. It says they track Michael's scent, and it just stops at the end of their street, away from the field to the right of their home, where it abruptly stopped. Okay, so we know that they put him in the car right there. That tells you exactly when he was put in the car, or into a vehicle, or into something. At 8:18 p.m., PCSO issues a code red to residents in Hidden Meadows subdivision. Okay. At 8:20 p.m., a missing and endangered alert is issued. At 11:22 p.m., surveillance shows the Wanderer's maroon GMC pickup returning to the neighborhood, towing a silver Mercedes-Benz. July 28, 2021. Massive searches by law enforcement, neighbors, and volunteers are conducted throughout Fruitland. There is no trace of Michael is found. Video surveillance from multiple neighborhood cameras is reviewed. Michael does not appear on any of them. And this is sounding very, very familiar, isn't it? We have a child that is missing. He was seen with other, in the neighborhood. He was seen. And then there's not one, he's not on any cameras anywhere in the neighborhood. But there was a dog that tracked him to the end of the street. Sounds very familiar. Who does that sound like? All right. On July 30th, on July 29, 2021, Dorothy Foreman reports her sighting of Michael riding the tricycle to the police. Okay. Hey there, Elizabeth. How are you doing, girl? Let me move this out the way. Yeah. Get that like. Hey, I survived my first book fest. Oh, good. I met Lori Kay, who interviewed John Lennon on the day he got shot. Wild Book Festival. Your accent's just like Nevada McPherson. How funny. I love John Lennon, girl. I love John Lennon. Damn, I'm jealous now. Very jealous. So I am just kind of reading the timeline of what happened to poor little monkey Michael Vaughan. I know some people have the actual charging affidavit. I do not. I pulled this timeline from something else. I'm just kind of going over it and just matching up some of the things that was discussed today with exactly what the timeline says. And it just proves that nothing else could have happened to this child except those people took this child. Okay. So we'll just keep reading over here. Let me pull this up here. So she reports that the sighting of Michael on the tricycle on July 30th of 2021 investigations find photographs of packed boxes inside the Wander residence, suggesting they were preparing to move shortly after the disappearance. And they were. They were actually calling around trying to find housing and some assistance, financial assistance to move. All right. I don't think these people ever worked. I mean, they had this cab thing going on, but yeah. All right. Then on July 31st, 2021, the police chief renews his plea for public health. Chief J.D. Huff again urged the public to come forward with any information about this missing child. On August the 1st, 2021, the initial police contact, Fruitland police conduct an in-person check at the Wanderer residence. Adrian is found hiding in a closet. Now, let me tell you something. You're not only hiding if you're guilty of something, right? If you're not guilty, you don't need to be hiding. So, residents, the people that were present at the residence was Stacy, Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian. All four are guilty, or all four are going to be charged in this missing child's case, and all four will probably be put in jail for the rest of their lives. Monday, August the 2nd, 2021, the canine search. Live scent canine teams began tracking using Michael's shoes. Canine Banshee, he follows Michael's scent from Meadowlark and Red Wing Street straight to the fence in front of the Wanderer's home. It stops right there, showing no interest in any other residents among the approximately 300 homes they checked. 300 of them, right? The scent trail continues down a bluff at Southwest 8th and Three Rivers into the thorny bushes where a discarded stroller is located. He was in the stroller at one time. Wednesday, August the 4th, the dive team finds nothing in the pond. A dive team searches in a local pond near the neighborhood and produced no evidence. August the 5th, 2021, a pink Big Flyer tricycle is found behind the bluff sign within the intersection of Three Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. This is the exact same tricycle that the lady reported seeing. Okay? This tricycle was not previous the day before during the searches. They took this tricycle when they realized that they were being searched and that this tricycle had been reported, and they dumped it there. Okay? Resident Jim Smith reports he found it under the bluff beside the stroller. He took it home and briefly intending to use one of the wheels for a project, but later left it behind the sign for children to use. Okay, so he didn't know that he was touching evidence. The tricycle is later confirmed at the same one Kim E saw in the Wonder Garage in the spring of 2021. Huff released a newer photo of Michael, which was said to have been taken just 1 month prior to the time he was last seen. Michael was last seen in the area of Southwest 9th Street and South Arizona Avenue in Fruitland at about 6:30 to 7:15 p.m. on July 27th. He was wearing a light blue Minecraft t-shirt, dark blue or black boxer briefs with a green stripe, and child size 11 blue flip-flops. He is 3'7". He weighed about 50 pounds with blonde hair and beautiful blue eyes. Very beautiful child. August the 6th, 2021. The community sets up a web page for this missing boy. A dedicated web page was launched for citizens to find updates and resources on this case. On August the 8th, 2021, communications between Sarah and Stacy. Sarah tells Stacy she wants to move and get out of this neighborhood and this house. She knows they're going to find this evidence. She knows that they're going to find out he was there. She knows. Sarah also writes, I liked it better when you agreed to be no one else. I liked it better when you agreed to be no one else here ever. But then you didn't want to listen to me about our sanctuary. So now we need to find another one. I need a new castle. Okay, she's a little bit, these people are basically kind of ignorant, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. They're kind of ignorant, all right? So they're, okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. August the 10th, 2021. The community just rallies for this missing 5-year-old boy and his family, and they continue to rally for this family. From the day one, they've stayed and rallied for this family, and I'm so proud of their area, the little town they live in, and all the people that reached out, and all the people that's helped them. and all the there's everything that has been brought to that family, even though they were going through this hard time looking for this child and hurting for this child. The mother was able to get her surgery that she needed. She's getting better every day, and she's going to get justice for her baby. 2 weeks after the disappearance, the community members across the Western Treasure Valley held rallies in support of the family. On August 11th, 2021, Fruitland Police Department turned to social media for this missing boy updates. Police began using Facebook to provide community updates and share new developments. On August the 12th, 2021, a falling out between Stacy and Brandon. Okay, so anytime that you have people who commit a crime together, they're going to have like a bond. It's not a trauma bond, but they are just criminally kind of bound together because each one knows what the other one did. You're always going to have one party that's going to begin to fall apart, and they're like, I want out of this. I need to find a way out of this. I don't want to be held responsible. I didn't do anything. You know the whole thing. Now, we all know that the first person to go to the police and speaks gets the best deal. Any one of those four people should have known if they would have just went to the police then and spoke, they could have maybe not ended up in jail for the rest of their life, but they're going to end up in jail for the rest of their lives. So, Brandon is kicked out of the Wander residence. Sarah changes her phone number shortly after the dispute. On August the 13th, 2021, multiple agencies still actively searching local areas for this missing 5-year-old boy. Authorities confirmed continued multi-agency cooperation in the local search effort. August the 7th, 2021. Investigators will circle back to the areas near the boy's home. Because when nothing else is found, you need to go back to the beginning. You go back to the home. Just like in Sebastian Rogers' case, you're going to go back to the home where he was last seen. You go back to where they were and the people they were with. And if you can't clear them, then you're going to need to start looking at other things, right? We just know that that's how it works. There's no other way it can work. So in that case, they need to go back to that house and start over. August the 17th, okay, so they circle back. Fruitland police announced the plans to research parts of that neighborhood close to his home. August the 20th, 2021, the ground search for missing boy scales back. Okay, they've done all they can do. They don't see anything. They don't have anything. Now what? All right. This happens then on August the 21st. Sarah Wander tells investigators that she and Stacy left the house at 5 p.m. to tow the car. We've heard her say this before. All right. Data later disproves that. That's not what happened. Okay, then we go back to August the 24th. No answers, but police still committed to finding Michael. 1 month after his disappearance, Fruitland police reaffirmed their ongoing communities and commitment to this case. August the 27th, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Hull talks about his team's mental health. I'm sure it is very draining on somebody's mental health, knowing you're looking for this child and you have done everything you know to do. You've brought in the dogs, you've brought in the FBI, you've brought in all the agencies you can, and you still have nothing. But you do have one thing. You have people telling you they saw this child. We have more than one thing. People saw this child and where his scent stopped at these people's home, right? That's where it was, right there. Now, Chief Hull addresses the emotional strain on the investigators as they search. It's into the second month. On September the 3rd, 2021, a reward fund was set up for safe return of this missing boy. A reward fund was established to encourage tips for Michael's safe return. On September the 12th, 2021, have a tip about Michael. Police continue to appeal to the public for leads regarding to this missing boy. On September 27th, 2021, the reward fund for missing boy just more than doubles. The reward amount was increased significantly as the investigation continued. Okay. Now, then it stretches out longer. September through December of 2021, there was behavioral changes. And of course, the people who are guilty are going to start having behavioral changes. They know they're going to get caught. They can't hold on to this forever. So people who are guilty of things like this, they know some point, people know. Right? Whether they've arrested you yet or not, they know that law enforcement knows. Sarah Wander begins publicly preaching near Love's Travel Stop out. Oh my goodness. She begins public preaching near Love's Travel Stop in Ontario, Oregon, holding signs reading, "Repent of your sins, the end is near." Okay, so she knows. She knows. Her TikTok activity surges from 11 videos total pre-disappearance to 329 new uploads between September 15th and December 24th, focusing on repentance, forgiveness, and sin. Okay, she's talking to herself. All right, she's having to talk to herself about what she's done. She's trying to live with herself. She's trying to live with I don't know how she goes to sleep at night, to be honest with you. She claims to have broken the 10 Commandments, including "Thou shalt not kill." Michael's missing poster is visible in the background of several of her videos. She's telling on herself right there. They always tell on themselves. November the 15th, they re-interview them. Sarah and Stacy are re-interviewed. They are shown photo evidences of Sarah driving the GMC pickup at 7:08 on July 27th. She changes her story, claiming they were retrieving Brandon's Mercedes from Kuno. She admits stopping at Southwest 8th at South Arizona to input GPS directions. November the 19th, 2021. The search for Michael passes 115 days. 4 months after his disappearance, police renewed appeals to the public for assistance. On December 24th, 2021, officers searched the woods near Weiser. Police conducted searches around Weiser as the case reached the 150-day mark. And that's heartbreaking for the parents. Now it's 150 days and still nothing, even though they know what evidence the police have about where he was last and who saw what. They know this. December 28th, 2021, community lights candles for Michael. They have the ceremony, a little candlelight ceremony. That's so very nice. I'm so glad they did. Residents gathered to hold a candlelight village marking the 5 months of Michael's disappearance. On March 25th, 2022, 5-year-old Michael Vaughan has been missing for 8 months. That's agony, absolute agony. 8 months later, police and family continue seeking answers, and reward efforts are remained active. April 22nd. This is the Key Ramsey statement. Okay. Sarah's mother, Key Ramsey, told investigators she had found a tricycle hidden in the nearby bushes before Michael vanished and later threw away a green stuffed animal. And it was like some kind of something that their dog had unearthed. All right. I guess they were trying to hide the evidence. I'm not sure. They said it was a green stuffed animal's ear that their dog had unearthed. On April 26, 2022, bill signing to honor Michael Monkey Vaughan on Wednesday. Governor Brad Little planned a ceremonial bill signing in Fruitland to honor Idaho's endangered missing persons legislation. On April 29, 2022, Governor Little honors the signing of Monkey's Law at Fruitland on Wednesday. I'm glad they did Monkey's Law. We need laws in more states about these children. Okay. April through June 2022, additional evidence came up. Witness Christy Cooch, it's Kutch, tells investigators that Sarah confessed Stacy was involved in abducting the 5-year-old boy. In a later June 22nd jail call, June of 2022, Sarah recants, claiming that Christy misunderstood. Investigators also learned that Sarah's dog repeatedly digs holes in their backyard in areas where cadaver dogs were later alerted. So they took the cadaver dogs out and they alerted in the same spots the dog was digging in the yard where the little green ear from the animal was found. A little piece of little stuffed animal was found. May 11th, 2022. United States Attorney's Office for the District of Idaho filed a motion for detention against Stacy Wander in the United States versus Wander, case number 1-22-CR00098-DCN. The filing submitted by the U.S. Attorney Rafael M. Gonzalez Jr. and Special Assistant U.S. Attorney Aaron C. Blackadere requested detention under 18 U.S.C. 3142 E and F. The motion cited a felony involving a minor victim and alleged that Wander passed a risk of flight and a danger to the community. Absolutely, he did. June of 2022, There's a jail call between Sarah and Christy. Sarah recants claiming Christy misunderstood. Okay, so she talks about that one again. On June 17th, it was a birthday gathering and a tortilla fundraiser to be held in Monkey's honor. A community birthday celebration and a fundraiser were scheduled for Michael's 6th birthday. That's got to be horrible. On June 21st, 2022, the family hangs on to hope ahead of Michael's birthday. Michael's family shared emotional reflections on his birthday as it approached. August 26, 2022, the search for Monkey rolls on. Fruitland Community Park hosted a conference updating the public on the ongoing multi-state investigation efforts. October the 12th, 2022, there was a religious confession. Now, religious confession, sure. Sarah Wander tells detectives, God told me he will help me find the boy. She becomes emotional when Michael's name is mentioned and writes a handwritten testimony stating that God forgave her sins. Once again, she's telling on herself. They always do. November the 5th, 2022. Stacy's jail contact. Stacy Wander, incarcerated in the Washington County Jail, contacts Fruitland police. Stacy Wander requested an interview with Washington County Jail and said that Sarah carried Michael into the house that night when he disappeared. He is beginning to blame her for it because they've got to start blaming each other. Somebody has got to take the blame, right? So somebody wants to not go to jail for the rest of their life. They start talking. Okay, they're starting to get to him, so they start talking. So and then he says Sarah's behavior changed days after Michael's disappearance. He mentioned switching SIM cards and selling phones to avoid being tracked. November 10th, 2022. This is when this full confession happens. Stacy confesses that Michael was brought into their home the night he disappeared. Sarah carried Michael inside. She, Brandon, and Adrian bound him with duct tape and placed him in a duffel bag. Now, this is horrible. And this is what made me cry earlier. I'm going to try to get through this. But it's kind of, this poor child. His mother gave permission to these other people for them to read this affidavit. So it's out there. This is not something, this is out there. Other people have talked about it. I'm just going to read the timeline that I have here for it. Michael cried. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk about that part. Stacy reports seeing Michael folded in a fetal position inside the bag. And he vomits while recounting this. I think the child had already passed away, and so he's reliving what he saw. Okay. They stopped at Southwest 8th and Southwest Arizona to check if Michael was alive and heard a dull scream. They then drove Brandon to Brandon's mother's home in Kuna, where Brandon carries the duffel bag inside. The next day, Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian returned to Fruitland and buried the body in the backyard near the shed. Now remember the dogs that were digging in that yard. Same day phone call. Stacy tells his mother, Tamara Johnson, that Sarah accidentally killed him. When asked how, he says, suffocation. They buried him in this duffel bag. Afterwards, Stacy writes an apology letter to Michael's parents and attempts to suicide in jail. Like this apology letter is going to do any good, right? Now, here's the weird thing about this. They have this for all this time. This is 2022, right? He's just now charged. This is 2025. He's just now charged. Why it took so long? I don't understand. Okay? I don't understand this. Cadaver dogs alerted multiple times in the Wonders' backyard near that shed. And they kept searching for it. They kept searching. November 12th, 2022, search and excavation. A search warrant executed at the Wonder residence. Sarah detained and makes several unsolicited statements. I definitely did not kill that boy. God told me Stacy was the one who killed him. He buried him in the backyard by the shed. 5 certified cadaver dogs alert in the same area of that backyard. Investigators note that freshly filled and resodded soil was there. Despite extensive excavation, no remains are recovered from the yard. No, they'd already moved them someplace else and put new dirt and new grass in. Prosecution alleges that Sarah failed to notify law enforcement or the coroner about the death of Michael Vaughn with intent to prevent discovery of the remains from his death. November 14th, 2022, a felony complaint was filed in Fayette County, Idaho, by Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Eric Reed under Idaho case number 19-4301A3, failure to report the death. The case was filed under the prosecuting attorney, Michael Duke. A magistrate found probable cause for the charge. Okay, so they've had probable cause before. November the 22nd, 2022, Sarah Wander was arrested in Michael Vaughn's case to undergo treatment. A judge ordered that the arrested woman undergo treatment before her trial. December 8, 2022, police searched the second yard from this missing child. Nothing was found. A second property search yielded no discoveries. Now, it just kind of stops there, and it goes from 2023 all the way to 2025. Okay. Court proceedings continued regarding Sarah Wander's competency and detention status. The Fruitland Police Department and the Idaho State Police continued their investigation into the disappearance and the death of Michael Vaughan. Support findings. Late 2022 through 2023, Wanderers sold or discarded phones, vehicles, and furniture soon after July 27, 2021, with Sarah claiming a demon told her to. So see, right there, she's saying, oh, I'm crazy. There's something wrong with me. And it's going to come out, well, a demon made me do this, or the devil told me to do it. I mean, was she part of some cult? I mean, are we looking at another cult situation here? No, we're looking at pure-ass evil monsters. That's what we're looking at right here. All right. The GMC pickup was repossessed and found completely cleaned. Of course it was. Cloud records show searches for rental housing in other states within weeks of this disappearance. Photographs from July 30th, 2021 show packed boxes confirming early preparations to relocate. I mean, as soon as this happened, they were trying to get out of town. All right. On January the 23rd of 2023, Sarah Wander's hearings rescheduled for February 6th to 7th. The court hearings for Sarah Wander charged in the case were postponed. March the 20th, 2023, Sarah Wander's hearings continued to April. The hearings were again delayed to April. March 27th, 2023, the woman accused in the missing boys case deemed stable enough for a trial. The accused was found competent to proceed to trial. March 30th, 2023, prosecutors refiled old charges on Sarah. Sarah was rearraigned on previously dropped charges related to the case. Officials emphasized that the case remained active and complicated, with Sarah Wander the only person charged. April of 2023, prosecutors dismissed the charge against Sarah in the Michael Vaughan case. Now, this was very shocking and it was very hurtful. Okay. April 13th, 2023, the judge pushes out court dates for Sarah Wander over the gun charge, but she was still charged with a gun charge. All right. A separate felony case related to the 2022 gun crime was rescheduled. April 17th, 2023, prosecutor drops the charges and doesn't charge for the missing child. Prosecutors claim that the dismissal of the one set of charges would not end the investigation into Michael's disappearance. October 13th, 2023, they have a follow-up interview. Sarah told Detective Keller and Cold Case Foundation investigator Chris McDonough God forgave everybody while crying when Michael's name was mentioned. Again, telling on herself. June 11th, 2023, a criminal complaint was filed. Case number CR 38-25-1296. Court, 3rd Judicial District Court of Fayette County, Idaho, filed by Detective Juanita Keller at Fruitland Police Department. Prosecutor is going to be Michael Duke, Fayette County Prosecuting Attorney. The judge is Honorable Michael W. Griffin. Charges filed against Sarah Ann Wander. First-degree murder, Idaho Code. Idaho Code number 18-4001, 18-4002, 18-4003, 18-4003, and 18-1701. Aiding and abetting. 18-4003, 18-1701, 18-4003, and 18-1701. Aiding and abetting. 18-4003, 18-1701, 18-4003, and 18-1701. Aiding and abetting. 18-4003, 18-4002, 18-4003, and 18-1701. Aiding and abetting. alleged that on or about July 27th, she willfully and deliberately, with premeditation and malice, a forethought killed, and he just gives his initials, MV, with a date of birth 2016, or caused his death during the commission or attempt of kidnapping. All right. A second-degree kidnapping, Idaho Code Number 18-4501 to 18-4503 and 18-1701, alleged that on or about July 27th, she willfully and without lawful authority seized, confined, led, or enticed MV away with intent to secretly confine or detain him against his will. Number 3. Destruction or concealment of evidence. Idaho Code 18-2603 between July 27, 2021 and May 21, 2025. She knowingly destroyed, altered, or concealed a body and or DNA evidence to prevent discovery in a felony investigation. Persistent violator enhancement. Okay, so now they're enhancing her charges because she's had previous charges. They do that a lot in the state of Texas as well. Idaho Code Number 19-2514 was 2 prior felony convictions. In 2013 in Oregon, attempted robbery and identity theft. Oh, I'm sure, right? 2023 in Idaho, aggravated assault and or concealment of evidence. Additional details, the complaint covers criminal conduct occurring between July 27, 2021 and May 21, 2025, indicating an ongoing concealment activity through that date. Sarah Wander is charged as a principal participant under Idaho Code Number 18-1701, aiding and abetting, not as a mere accessory. This document formally identifies Michael Vaughan as MV, date of birth 2016, as the victim in the designation section. On June 25th, 2025, criminal charges are filed. Okay. Detective Juanita Keller from Fruitland PD files the probable cause affidavit in Fayette County District Court. The charges against Stacey James Wander are first-degree murder, Idaho Code 18-4003. Second-degree kidnapping, Idaho Code 18-4503. Destruction or concealment of evidence, Idaho Code 18-2603. Detective Juanita Keller, Fruitland PD, files the probable cause affidavit in Fayette County District Court. The charges against Sarah Ann Wander, first-degree murder for the willful and premeditated killing of Michael Vaughan, in Section 18-4001 through 4003 and 18-1701. Second-degree kidnapping, unlawful seizure and confinement of Michael Vaughan, 18-4501 through 4503 and 18-1701. Destruction or concealment of evidence, concealment of the body and DNA evidence between July 2021 and May 2025 under 18-2603. Persistent violator enhancements based on prior felony convictions from 2013 in Oregon and 2023 in Idaho under 19-2514. Now, here's a little something else I found. Let me see if I can get this done. And this is going to be like the evidence. So, go back and fix this part. Why is it over there like that? I have to make this a little bigger so I can see this. Yeah. I'm jealous. What? Okay, I'm sorry I didn't see this. I'm jealous too. You in Nevada aren't you? I'm not. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. You really are. Just love it when you come into my chat. You know, I know a lot of people, like they're in other people's chat, and they always tend to come and watch it later, and that's okay. You know, I don't really care about that. But I always want to bring something interesting, something that that you might not see elsewhere. I just don't want to show it. I don't really like to show other people's work. You know, I think that's, anyway, I don't want to get off all of that tangent. But anyway, so there's a whole list of key evidence summary of the of the tricycle, the canine scent, Dorothy's report, Adrian's selfie, which with the GPS, no GPS data, the truck, the video surveillance gathered from the cameras all around, the cadaver canine alerts, the 5 dogs alert on Wander's backyard near the shed, the confession details from Stacey admits suffocation, burial, and later having suicide attempts. Now, Sarah Ann Wander connected to the disappearance of 5-year-old Michael Vaughan in Fruitland, Idaho in July 2021. Investigations identified Sarah and her husband Stacy Wander as persons of interest after the canine cadaver unit alerts in their backyard. Sarah was arrested in 2022 on the lesser charge, but now she's going to be charged in this one. As of late October 2025, prosecutors announced they are moving forward with murder-related charges against Stacy Wander, but do not yet publicly list criminal charges against Sarah in the Vaughn case. Now they will. Eventually they will come back out, right? And here's another little something about her. Sarah Wander was formerly known as Sarah Ann Ramsey. This is her life and criminal history timeline, all right? This is just Sarah. Sarah Wander was born to an abusive parent. Abused by her older brother at 10 months old in 1987, her father left when she was 2 years old. This is not an excuse for what she's done. It's just a little background history about Sarah Wander, in case you want to know. And sometimes people do want to know. Because for me, I always want to know what makes people tick. Why do they do the things they do? I always want to know the psyche of the people who can commit these heinous crimes, right? So, when she was 4, she was placed in foster care after telling someone about the abuse at home. She lived in foster care from age 4 to 9 with 2 different families. Her biological mother died when she was 6 years old. At 9, she was adopted by Edward and Kay Ramsey and moved to Oregon. After adoption, the Ramseys adopted another girl, which Sarah said caused a family divide. She described her adopted sister as a manipulative and said that she emotionally and verbally, that's when it all began. So after she was adopted, she became Sarah Ann Ramsey. Adoption was granted to Edward Gene Ramsey Jr. and Kay Lynette Ramsey, husband and wife. She was adopted on October the 16th, 1997 in Portland, Oregon. Her date of birth is February the 21st, 1987. She was born in Boise, Ada County, Idaho. Judge was Paul J. Kushner, and the file number for the adoption was 9707-67590. Sarah Wander, aka Sarah Ann Ramsey, and this is her life and legal. This is okay. So she was born in Boise. She was adopted in Portland. At age 16, Sarah began sneaking out and meeting strangers online. After an argument with the adoptive father, she ran away and met a man who offered her a place to stay. She reported being sexually assaulted, but said no charges were filed after her adoptive mother claimed that the encounter was consensual. Okay, number one, you're in your children, you're 16 years old, there's no such thing as consensual, okay? This was wrong. She was very much wronged at this point. That should never have happened. In 2004, at age 17, Sarah became pregnant. She left high school and gave birth to a baby girl. The child's father urged her to place the baby for adoption, which she did. Okay, that's another traumatic thing that happened to Sarah Wander. Okay, or aka Sarah Ramsey. She earned her GED and enrolled in college. At age 19, she worked while attending college. Around this time, she met a man named Ricky and married him, and they moved to Texas. Sarah later described the marriage as violent and controlling. She said Ricky broke her ribs and tried to strangle her during one assault that was witnessed by his mother. She left him soon after. In 2010, while living with her adoptive parents, Sarah attempted suicide by overdosing on trazodone, but warned her mother in advance. She was hospitalized and committed to a psychiatric ward. Okay, so she's had mental health problems for a long time. Now, I will tell you that there was a statement made that her one of her exes said the reason why they weren't together is because she had always talked about kidnapping a child. Okay, so this is not something that was new to her. She had many times that she talked about doing this. That I think she had a criminal mind. Really, I think she had just a criminal mind. But I think it happened from very traumatic things in her childhood. Right, now it's no excuse for what she's done, but I think that her mental health problems are part of the issue here. While living with her adoptive parents, she attempted suicide. In 2011, she entered a court-ordered rehabilitation program. In 2012, she found a sales job, but quit shortly afterward. She began a relationship with a homeless man and became involved in theft and drug use. Later that year, she was arrested for stealing gas and carrying a knife and was sentenced to 80 months in prison. Now, it does not state who the man was. It doesn't state who the man was that she was involved with when this happened. In 2012 to 2018, she was incarcerated. While in prison, Sarah worked in the kitchen and completed 2 years of business courses and turned to religion. During this time, her cousin died by suicide, which she said left her feeling responsible for being a negative influence. Okay, so that's her mental health right there, flaring up. I mean, I don't know if she's diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia or any of that, but she truly has mental health problems here. On April 13th of 2018, she married Stacy Wander. Okay, so they weren't even married that long before they got involved in taking this child, which is so horrible. So Sarah and Stacy committed identity theft. Oh my gosh, October 11th, 2019. So she's already with this new man that she's just married, committing identity theft and related offenses. December 13th of 2019. Both were arrested and charged with theft in the second degree. Sarah charged with identity theft, mail theft, and receipt of stolen mail. Stacy was charged with negotiating a bad check and theft in the first degree. October the 19th, 2020. Sarah was released from jail. Okay, so she already had this other felony. Think about that. She could not own a gun, and I think that's where this gun charge comes from. May 11th, 2022. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Idaho files a motion for detention against Stacy Wander in case number 1-22-CR00098. The following cites that, of course, the identities of felony involving a minor victim asserting that Wander possesses a black. Okay, so this is directly related to Michael Vaughan. Sarah Wander on September 25th, 2022. This is sick. This is sick right here. Sarah Wander, a GoFundMe campaign titled "Help to Those Who Can't Help Themselves" is created. She creates this GoFundMe. Help to those who can't help themselves. Wow, that's pretty sick, lady. November the 12th of 2022, prosecutors allege that Sarah Wander fails to notify law enforcement or the coroner of the death of the child, right? November the 14th, 2022, a felony complaint is filed by Payette County, Idaho, and Deputy Eric Reed under the Idaho case number 19-4301 for failure to report. This case is filed. Okay, we've talked about that already. There's the cadaver dogs. So this is it's getting to the end of the timeline that I have here. And then in April, the prosecutors dismissed this charge against Sarah. And then it's dismissed without prejudice, which was good, which means it could be refiled, and it is going to be refiled. 2025, court proceedings continue for Stacy Wander and federal and state jurisdictions. The investigation into Michael Monkey Vaughan's disappearance and death remains active under Fruitland Police Department and Idaho State Police. Everyone will be arrested. Everyone will be prosecuted. Everyone will, to the full extent of the law. Let's just get that straight. It's going to happen. So that is my information on the Michael Monkey Vaughan case. Bless that family's heart, right? Okay, so I'm going to get off of that one. And the next thing we're going to talk about over here is Daniel Martell. Now, the thing about Daniel Martell and all that's going on with him, Daniel Martell, boy, he's a case study, isn't he? He's really a case study. He has said all kinds of things. He's done all kinds of things. We don't know what's real, what's not real. We have people coming out on Facebook just describing these horrific types of torture and child abuse. Here's the thing. Nobody knows if that's true. All right. We were not there. Nobody that lived in this house has said anything about that. And nobody's been arrested yet. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say about that. If that really happened to that child, and there was proof that it happened to that child, don't you think he would already been arrested? Now, I'm not saying he's not guilty of things, because I'm pretty sure he's guilty of things. I don't know what he's guilty of. Okay. I don't know that yet. But we're going to find out that he's guilty of some things. All right. Now, let me pull this other thing back up of him that I have. I just made a bunch of little lists today, because if I don't do it like this, I'm not going to be able to remember what I was talking about. So sorry, guys. Anyway, so let's talk about him for a second. Now, Daniel Martell has made several public statements since Jack and Lily Sullivan disappeared, including interviews, social media posts, and podcast appearances. The statements reveal his emotional state, his views on the investigation, and responses to public scrutiny, which are not good. All right. Now, here are the key statements that he has made. These are key statements by Daniel. In the initial plea for compassion on June 25, in 2025, he asked the public to stop attacking the children's mother, Malaya Sullivan. He said it doesn't get any easier and described her grief as overwhelming. Her grief is overwhelming, but as soon as the children are reported missing, she splits. She's out of there, and nobody hears from her. She doesn't talk. She gets a lawyer. That's that. Now, I'm going to bring y'all back to something that I don't know if you thought about this or not, but when the children were living in Daniel's house and they were trying to get them to be accepted into the Mi'kmaq nation, to be a part of the nation, they were denied, right? But as soon as these children go missing, the nation says, oh no, they're part of us, and they admit them as to be members of the nation. Okay. Why do they have to be missing before they are admitted? Now, does that mean, just a little theory, now, I don't know, does that mean that they are now hiding in the nation? People talk about that too. I don't think so, because here's the thing. The RCMP, it's okay, so like in some areas where you have recognized nations, you have situations where they govern themselves. So if there is a action that needs to be policed, then they have their own police department, their own judges, their own everything. They take care of it. In Canada, it is not that way. Okay, so they have to answer to the RCMP just like anybody else in Canada. I do not think these children would be hiding on that reservation, knowing that the RCMP could come out there and arrest every single person who was hiding these children, okay, because they've been reported missing. Now, here's the next thing, the polygraph test. June 22nd, 25, on the Never a True Word podcast, Martell discussed his going this polygraph test and revealed that Malaya had taken one too. Now, he insists that he's not a suspect. He emphasizes that he's cooperating with investigators, but he also tells us he can't tell us whether Malaya passed it or not, right? He doesn't have that information. Okay, that's fine. Then, the alleged chat messages in late June 2025. I mean, it just goes on and on with him. He goes, screenshots from YouTube chats under his name surfaced where he allegedly wrote, no drug dogs went through his house or property. Why? They should have. Drug dogs should have went through that house. The RCMP drug test is not a concern, I asked. These messages have sparked a renewed scrutiny and speculation. 6-month interview on November the 7th. In a televised interview, Martell says, I hope this speculation turns elsewhere, which drew intense public reaction, and some interpreted it as a frustration, others as deflection. It absolutely is deflection as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm not saying he did something to these children. I don't know. I was not there. I don't know that the children just wandered off. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know. We've heard every kind of thing you can imagine be told about where are these children. We've seen everything. I mean, it is every day somebody's talking about a speculation, a thought, something they've been told, something that's coming out on Facebook in those groups, something that looks suspicious, and it goes on, right? So in this 6 month, then here's what the next thing that happened is the doubts about them being in the woods. Well, here, October 30th, Martell publicly states he no longer believes that Jack and Lily wandered into the woods and challenging earlier assumptions about their disappearance. Who said they went into the woods in the first place? Daniel, didn't you say aren't you the one that said they went to the woods? Who said they went to the woods? That's what I'd like to know. Where did that come from? Who decided they just walked out that door and went into the woods? I don't know, because I don't remember. But I can tell you, that's where RCMP went to look first. Because, here's the thing. When you don't know something and we aren't told things, we start to just fill in the blanks with what makes sense. So if they say, well, that door doesn't make any noise, and the children aren't there, and we were asleep, we heard them, and then we didn't hear them, the only thing that made sense, remember, there was also some kind of a screwdriver or some kind of something stuck in one of the doors so they could not open it, right? So the only thing that made sense was them going out that sliding glass door. And from there, the only place they could go was to the woods. So voila, I guess they just went out into the woods. Is that where that comes from? Is that where it comes from? I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but that's what happened. So then it goes, here we go. Here's the next thing that goes on. Daniel Martell has made at least 5 distinct public statements since Jack and Lily disappeared. They include interviews, chat messages, and emotional appeals. All right. Well, let's start with the first one. June 4th, 2025. He gets on the TV and he starts talking about, oh, quit blaming the mother, quit doing this, quit doing that. All right. And then on June 22nd, he starts talking about his polygraph. Then he talks about his belief that Malaya also took one. Then he talks about his cooperation. Then he emphasized that he was not a suspect and expressed frustration with the public speculation. June 26th. All right. Then he goes on about that. The next thing that goes on is he's talking about, he states that he no longer, he doesn't believe they're in the woods. And he also marked, it just marks this, there was this earlier theory about that. And it just actually makes this investigation so much more complex. Because if they're not in the woods and somebody said, oh, well, remember the car? Somebody there was a car on the street. They saw 2 kids walking toward it, but then they said, oh, those kids were too old to be those 2 kids. It couldn't have been them, right? And then there's also, you've heard rumors that, oh, well, somebody must have pulled up into the driveway and she put them in somebody else's car and then went back inside and Janie was raking the driveway. Okay, so see, none of that makes any damn sense at all. None of it. Martell, it's like these 2 are not being charged with anything, okay? Now, people say, we keep hearing, oh, well, it's coming. Is it coming? We don't know that. We don't know that at all, right? Now, here's also some things that went on with this case. I'm looking at all these different things that happened from different dates where it's talking about, if I clicked on them, it would be a video, and I'm not going to show somebody else's work, but it just goes on and on and on. There's just so many of them. I'm looking at 23 different ones right now. Let's go back over here. We're going to talk about Malaya for a minute, okay? So let's talk about Malaya for a minute. What is her part in all of this? Well, I'm going to tell you something. What kind of a mother, as soon as their children disappear and it's reported that they've disappeared, actually leave the property and just go off? She's seen at bars. She's seen with another person. She just moved on. Oh, well, life moves on. We've seen other people act like that too. Is this their way of dealing with trauma? Or is it that they've truly just moved on? We don't know. We're not them, right? So let's look at this for a minute. Then you got to wonder, is Malaya, now Malaya's losing Meadow as well, so that's another problem here. She's in the custody of their CPS, and I don't think she's going to get her back, all right? And I've not heard Daniel talk about getting to see his daughter. Has he gotten to? I'm not sure. I'm going to pull something up. Hold on just a second, guys. Daniel Martell. Hang on a second. Now, okay. Now this is just from 1 month ago. The stepfather states that Jack and Lily came in and out of the bedroom several times while Jack could be heard in the kitchen. Now, let me explain something to you. These 2 were in the bed. They say it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're drifting in and out of sleep. When you have a 4 and a 6-year-old, they are hungry. So they are in the kitchen, rummaging around, I'm pretty sure looking for something to eat. Let me ask you this. How many of you think that is the possibility that they could have went out that door to go down the street and ask somebody else for food? Children do those kind of things because when they cannot get what they want at home or what they need at home, they seek elsewhere. Children will go and knock on a door and ask, do you have any food? Yes, they will. Could that have happened? I don't know. Now listen to this. This is just from October the 17th. Come on, open up. Documents reveal a new witness statement to the RCMP about the missing children. All right. Now listen to this little story. All right. The RCMP has agreed to release new information about the disappearance of 2 children from their home in rural Nova Scotia, including accounts from witnesses who said they heard a vehicle going back and forth nearby a few hours before the kids were reported missing. Now, that also has been, did it happen? No. Did it happen? Yes. Did it happen? No. Did it happen? Yes. All right. Now, Malaya Brooks Murray reported her children missing, all right, at 10 a.m. She says around 10 a.m. Here's the thing, though. We already know, based on other statements, these children were missing before 10 a.m. She may have got her ass out of the bed at 10 a.m. to start doing stuff because, she didn't hear them anymore. But these children were missing long before that. They could have even been missing the night before. We don't know. Okay. She says the RCMP agreed to release this new information to the Canadian press and other media outlets ahead of a scheduled court hearing to review whether the information could be made public. This sheds new light on the mystery that has garnered attention across the country ever since the children disappeared nearly 6 months ago. This information appears in documents the Mounties filed in court earlier this year to obtain search warrants for phone records, bank records, and videos related to the case. Each document contains unproven statements made by police. All right, unproven statements. The document says the last time the children were seen outside their home was May the 1st, when they were captured by video surveillance at a local Dollarama store with their mother and Daniel. In August, the police force had released redacted versions of the documents that included other revelations of their investigation, including a timeline of what happened after the children disappeared and details of the earlier days of the police investigation. On Friday, the Canadian press obtained a new copy of the document with pure redaction. The documents say that one of those residents, Brad Vaughn, told police on May 9th that in early hours of May the 2nd, he heard a loud vehicle coming and going from the family's home on Garlic Road. Vaughn told police his house is an elevated position from Martell's home, and he could also see vehicle lights over the treetops that night. The police documents say Vaughn said that the vehicle left their address 3 or 4 times after midnight and into the early morning hours, according to the documents. Now, let's talk about what Malaya said. Malaya said that Daniel was going to stay up and clean the house up as she went to sleep. She doesn't know when he went to bed. Blah blah blah. Right? He very well could have left several times. We don't know. We weren't there, right? I'm not going to say he did. I don't know. I don't know if the guy's telling the truth or not telling the truth. We're going to presume he is telling the truth, but it very well could have happened. Okay. The document says Wong told police he heard the vehicle, and that the vehicle was heard to stop and return, remaining in earshot the entire time. About a week after they spoke to Wong, police said they spoke to Justin Smith, the other nearby resident. Police said that Smith told them on May 17th that he had spoken to Wong about that vehicle and that he had also heard it in the early hours of the morning of May the 2nd. And there's 2 people saying they heard this vehicle, and they were close by. They were right there. Okay. So then the next thing that happened was police say Smith told them the vehicle was on Highway 289 and turned around at the railroad tracks near the area of Garlic Road and Lansdowne Station. According to the documents, Smith later spoke with Wong, who told him that vehicle he heard that morning belonged to Daniel. Smith said Wong told him he had heard that loud vehicle come and go 5 or 6 times that night. The documents do not indicate whether anyone else reported hearing this vehicle. They indicate that Brooks Murray told the police she put the children in bed by 10 p.m. that night. Now listen, that's not what she said before. Before they disappeared. Martell told police he thought he went to bed fairly early that night and didn't wake up until it was late the next morning. That's what he says. But he also says that he went into the children's bedroom at midnight, turned the light on to check on them. Really? You turn the light on to check on the children when they're supposedly asleep. How does that work? Children don't sleep through that. What's wrong with you? All right. So then he says, in an interview, Martell says he claims that he was driving back and forth late at night are complete nonsense. That never happened. We got 2 people says it did happen. He says it never happened. Malaya says that he was going to stay up and clean the house, right? That's what she said happened, but she got up the next morning in the kitchen. It was not clean. Here's the funny thing about it, though. We know that Malaya kept the dirty house. That was talked about all over the place. She wasn't a cleaner, all right? Disgusting as it may be. But the kitchen was clean. By the time they came to search that house, that kitchen was clean. How come? What happened there, right? When did it get cleaned? We know it didn't get cleaned the night before because Malaya already told us. No, he didn't do it. He didn't clean it. All right. And then the RPM today says that he goes, Martell says, it's not clear, but the RCMP are working hard on this case, and he continues to hold on to hope that the children will be found. I pray for the best resolution possible and that Jack and Lily are found safe and healthy and they get to enjoy the rest of their lives, he said. The RCMP says in the documents that they had conducted at least nine, half dozen. Okay, listen to this. This is interesting. It goes. The RCMP said in the documents they conducted at least a half dozen polygraphs during their investigation. The first two were on May the 12th with the children's parents and the detachment and detached. Okay, so it was done at this Bible Hill, North in Nova Scotia. This was done at a police station in Bible Hill, Nova Scotia. All right. Martell's polygraph indicated he was truthful, as did the test for Brooks Murray, the RPM says. Okay, so now they're saying the police have said, okay, well, they both had truthful polygraphs, but maybe the right questions weren't asked. Has anybody thought about that? Because that's what I'm thinking, right? I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offense has occurred because Jack and Lily are still missing. Polygraph examinations were conducted with intention of ruling out that possibility. An affidavit sworn by Corporal Charlene Jordan says RCMP's Northwest Nova Scotia Major Crime Unit says Brooks Murray provided police with a video recording on a SanDisk Cruiser Glide USB of a phone conversation between her grandmother, Patty Pearson, and Pearson's relative, Darren Geddes. According to the documents, Geddes claimed to know information about the disappearance of Lily and Jack and had suggested in social media postings that Brooks Murray may have been involved in their disappearance. However, it stressed that this is his theory. Okay, so there's no proof of any of that, right? Police said they sought the records and just got this access to order and review this video recording. It is unknown if Darren Geddes knew he was being recorded. He said, I believe information provided in the recording could assist with locating the children by identifying further investigational avenues for the police to pursue. The USB was given to police at the detachment on June 26th, and the police say the video of the phone conversation was made on the evening of June 21st. RCMP also says they had previously met with Geddes on May the 30th, when he told them he wanted to provide information on the disappearance of the children. But he became confrontational and evasive when asked questions, and he wanted police to provide him with information about the investigation. He became upset when his questions were not answered. Meanwhile, police say an interview was posted on YouTube channels related to the disappearance of the children, entitled It's a Crime and Shame. The interview is with a person identified as Durwood O'Grady, who police believe is a pseudonym for this male believed to be Malaya's grandmother's cousin and is potentially Geddes. During the interview, the person identified O'Grady, he just made it clear that he was saying could be wrong or could be speculation. Police said that Brooks Murray later told the Geddes uses the name Durwood O'Grady on social media. The documents also revealed that Brooks Murray provided a statement to the police saying she used a smartphone messaging application called Text Plus to call her mother and her grandmother after Lily and Jack were missing, and that she used this because it allowed her to make the phone calls using wireless internet servers. Police say Brooks Murray told them she later deleted the software because she didn't need it anymore. Okay, well, really? Police said they requested Brooks Murray's records from Text Plus, specifically her records between Murray 1st and the 2nd. The document received results from this request, but other details were redacted. Brooks Murray, when reached by the Canadian press by phone on Friday, declined to provide a comment. She's never going to speak, guys. She's never going to speak. She doesn't have to. All right? A spokesperson with Nova Scotia RCMP said the police initially sought to steal these ITOs in full, which is standard practice in sensitive investigations, with release of information could compromise integrity or the future integrity of the investigation. Portions of these redactions have been removed following the legal challenges brought forward by media organizations. Allison Garrett said in an email Friday, the remaining redactions reflect ongoing concerns related to the privacy and continued protection of the investigation process. And this report was done on October the 17th, 2025. Sorry, guys. So they're saying the RCMP says no, they didn't do anything wrong. They've got no proof they did anything wrong. All right. They don't know what happened to these kids, but Malaya and Daniel are not guilty of anything per the RCMP. So where are these children? If they did not, let me take these little glasses off. If they're not in the woods, and he believes they did not go into the woods, where did they go? Are they the kids that were actually seen walking down the road, getting into a car that was parked on the side of the road, and a lady out of the car saying, trying to get the kids to come to her? Is it those children? Could that one lady be wrong? Could that really have been them? Could they just look a little older, or could she just maybe not remember how they looked? I don't know. But remember, that's something else that was talked about. Then something else came out just the other day. I saw on another channel, and all of these channels do great jobs. I mean, we've got Daphne's Case Files, we've got Fletch Those Pearls, we've got several people, Crime and Shame, several people talk about this case, and they do a great job. But the one thing they are not able to do is actually give us real facts, because they don't have. And once again, this is speculations based on things that have been said on social media by everybody and their brother. I mean, it's just all there. The facts are whatever RCMP says. And on October the 17th, 2025, they gave us the facts that they wanted to give us, and that's it. That's all we got. Now, I'm going to talk about something else for a second, and then I'm going to get off of here. And what this is, this, some people are not going to be happy with this, and I'm sorry, but I just think that we owe the public, we should be doing ethical, creators should be ethical, right? You should be doing ethical reporting when you're reporting about these things. What does ethical reporting mean? Let's talk about that for a second. It's important that we don't come on here and say things that are not true, all right? Or say things that are just clear hearsay, or say things that make people look a way that they are not, or say things to hurt other people. Okay, we just can't do that. So let's look up ethical reporting on YouTube, okay, or on social media, period. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about for just a second. On social media. Hang on. Today was just a funny day altogether. Yesterday, because now it's already today, but I'm just kind of glad it's over with. I can just move on and we can get some other things done. Okay, so here we go. What are the ethical considerations in media reporting? Because this applies to YouTube. It applies to any social media. Truth, accuracy, objectively are the cornerstones of journalism ethics. Journalists are encouraged to maintain a degree of detachment from the religions, the groups, or the countries they are associated with, in order to minimize potential biases in their reporting. You cannot be biased when you're doing this, okay? So examples of ethical issues on social media. Let's talk about those for a second, all right? So, ethical challenges with social media include issues like misinformation, all right, that's rampant, privacy violations, and addiction. Other challenges involve cyberbullying, deception, lack of transparency in data use, and in advertising and content moderation dilemmas that, pit free expressions against harm. Users must also navigate the ethical implications of how their data is collected and used, the potential for manipulation through algorithms, and the impact on mental health. Mental health is a big one when you're talking about ethical reporting on social media, because what you say about these people has a lot to do with how they are perceived by everybody else. A lot of people go to social media and they just want to know information. They want to know what's going on. If you are giving misinformation, or you are reporting biasly about it, then you can't give an ethical report. It's just not possible. If you're biased, you're not you can't give an ethical report. So anyway, so here's the problem here. All right. Privacy and data collection and monetization. Platforms collect vast amounts of users' data, raising concerns about how this information is used for targeted advertising and whether users truly consent to its extent. That's right. Invasion of privacy. This is a big one. All right. This includes obtaining personal information without permission, and the ethical question of whether the information shared with a select group can be viewed by anyone. Lack of transparency. You must provide receipts for what you're saying. You must be transparent. Okay. Many users are unaware of the extent of their data's availability and how it's being used by companies. Content and information, misinformation and disinformation. The rapid spread of false or intentionally deceptive information is a major ethical challenge and often exacerbated by a lack of fact checking. That happens a lot on social media. Because so and so said it, it must be true. Because so and so put it on their live show, I'm going to use their live show. We're going to talk about it. It must be true. I mean, this happens all day long on YouTube. All right. This is a big one: cyberbullying and harassment. Social media can be a platform for harassment, public shaming, and bullying. It's very bad about that. I have seen I call it dogpiling, when you have creators. When a creator makes a mistake, and the next thing you don't know, it is every other channel's over there talking about it. They're dogpiling it. It just goes on and on and on. It just goes on and on and on, and it just gets repeated over and over and over. This bullying. It absolutely is. All right. Authenticity and misrepresentation. Users may misrepresent their identity, affiliations, or expertise, which can mislead others. Absolutely. A lot of the creators in like on YouTube, they have a following of other people, right? And these other people rely on them to come out and tell them facts about different cases because they trust this person. They've watched this person for many years. They've been members of their chat for many years. So they expect that person to give them truth facts, to be exactly who they say they are, and to, if they claim to be an expert in something, actually be the expert in something. Now, you can't be an expert in some things. You just can't be an expert in. There's no such thing as being an expert in true crime, okay? It's just not possible, all right? There's so many different things that can happen in true crime that people don't think about. You just can't be an expert at that. Anyway, impact and responsibility, okay? Addiction and mental health. This is a documented correlation between heavy social media use and negative impacts on mental health, as well as high rates of addiction. Absolutely. Think about that. Content moderation. Platforms face the difficult ethical task of moderating content to prevent harm while balancing the principles of free expression. Corporate responsibilities. Companies are ethically responsible for addressing the negative impacts of their platforms and creating safer, more transparent environments. Advertising and marketing. Lack of disclosures. The failure to report endorsements and the use of undisclosed advertising can deceive consumers. It happens, right? Behavioral targeting, big one. Using user data to target and persuade individuals, particularly vulnerable groups, raises ethical questions about manipulation. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Think about this for a second. Examples of media ethics issues include the misinformation, inaccuracies, privacy violations, bias, and stereotyping. Okay, now stereotyping is huge. Conflicts of interest and unrealistic or objectifying content. That's right. It's out there. Okay. Spreading false information is huge. A news organization running unverified accounts of beheadings or mistreating or blame or for hospitals or whatever as a serious consequence. There's racial and gender bias, which is another big stereotyping minorities and women, underrepresenting them in news and creative roles, or portraying women in traditional subordinate roles are just common ethical breaches. Absolutely. Cultural insensitivity. Publishing opinion pieces that are culturally insensitive can cause harm and create ethical dilemmas for editors. Invasion of privacy is huge. This can occur through the use of personal information collected online via cookies or, I know you're going, what does that got to do with YouTube? Well, let me tell you something. There is an invasion of your privacy on YouTube. Okay. When you hear them talking about strikes and things, sometimes, now this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but you can strike somebody and get information about them. Absolutely. Because when you have a strike, one of the options is you can contact the person who put the strike on you. Well, how are you going to get the information to contact them? You get information from YouTube itself to talk to them about removing that strike. Okay, so it's real easy for that to happen. Social media can be just it can be the biggest help, but it can be the biggest harm. It depends on the people using it, people presenting it, right? So social media is just, you just really need to think about what you're saying before you say it. Don't give that misinformation. Don't repeat what so and so said because it may not be true. Don't repeat what you saw on Facebook. It may not be true, right? It can hurt people. People get hurt a lot on Facebook, YouTube. I've seen it happen over and over, right? I mean, there's bullies. There's everything you can imagine. Look, the latest of something like that, which I'm going to touch on this for just a second, then I'm going to go. But the latest on something like that was hidden true crime. Look at that mess. And Chris accused Christina of being a stalker. She's absolutely not a stalker. That's not right at all. That 9-hour live that she put out, the me live, because that's all it was. And then you saw the little temper tantrum thrown by Dr. John throwing his glasses when somebody spoke, when he was trying to gather his thoughts to speak. You saw that, right? The aftermath of that is just, it's terrible. It's just terrible. That should have never happened. You know, Christina had bought her tickets to CrimeCon long before the other person decided to go. That whole incident was an absolute misuse, misinformation, bullying right here on YouTube. Should have never happened. She absolutely did not stalk her. Absolutely not. And then you've got the people who come out who took the pictures and said, "Oh my gosh, no, we moved closer to her. It was our fault," right? They were the ones instigating. It wasn't Christine. I mean, it's shit like that. I mean, that's not there's so many others. There's so many of these people having to get cease and desist letters against each other. Do you understand? I mean, I don't think people understand. If these true crime channels bonded together to do good for these families and these missing children and these crimes that happened, it would be so much better. There's no need to fight over the lives. There's no need to fight about money. There's no need to not. You should be sharing the information that you have, because a lot of these channels have different people that come into their groups. It's not all the same, and you're putting out your information into different groups, different areas, different places, so it spreads the word a lot further. See, I mean, I just think things could change for the better if people decided to work together. That's how I'm going to end this live right there. We should be working together, not against each other, but together. Anyway, thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed our little show tonight. I know I didn't show any videos, but I just needed to talk about a few things. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and take care of yourself. I always say, be careful out there, take care of yourself, and hug your babies, honey. Hug your babies, because they're only with you for a short time. And once they grow up, yeah. Have a good day. Bye, guys.